Hello, Mr. People. Is that you, Mr. People? Good afternoon, Mr. People. I cannot hear you. You're muted, sir. You are muted, sir. Can you check your microphone, Mr. People? I cannot hear you, Mr. People. I think you're muted. Please mute your name. Yeah. Is it? Can you unmute him to test? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay, you hear me? Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, and you?
So for today, are you going to operate your presentation on your own, or you want us to operate? Sir, how are you?
Okay, I can operate myself. So the program already start, or we wait someone else, right?
We will start in 1 minute, sir.
In 1 minute. Okay.
Hi,
Morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon. Sorry, everyone. I was not hearing anything before, so I did not know if you said anything.
7 o'clock. 7 o'clock in Switzerland.
9 o'clock. Thank you very much for starting a bit later this.
Oh, where is it? It's gone.
Maybe I could share just 2 or 3 slides if you allow me.
Yeah. Here it's gone. Florian will share his slide. Sure.
I can't hear you.
Good afternoon, dear participants. I'm Hendra Gupta from the Global Water and Sanitation Center at the Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. Allow me to welcome you to the final webinar series for Southeast Asia and South Asia. Since last November, we had a 5 webinar series regarding Sustainable Development Goals 6.3.1 on volume of treated wastewater. So this collaborative framework to operationalize utility-based wastewater monitoring and management in support of increased investment to attain SDGs. This initiative is supported by UNHABITAT. So we had, since last November, 5 webinars, and today will be the last webinar of this series. And we are expecting, we had already number of countries participating in the data collection of SDG 631, and we expect to have more and more countries participating in the data collections. So yeah, please be involved in the discussion. There will be 3 speakers for today. Our first speaker will be Dr. Florian Tevnon from UNHABITAT to explain about what is UNSD questionnaire on SDG 631. The second speaker is from Asian Institute of Technology, our Professor Tamarat Kutatep, to present about lesson learned that we experienced during these webinars and also data collection with the SDG 631. And we have a speaker from Cambodia, Mr. Chow Pibal, representing new Directorate General for Wastewater from the Ministry of Public Work and also Transport. And in the final discussion, we will invite previous speakers to share about their experiences in relation to data collection of SDG 631. I think we have speakers from Thailand and also from the Philippines who already admitted into the seminars. We will have a discussion on that. So please be involved in the discussion. I would like to ask you to write down your questions in the chat box for the speakers to clarify later. And also there will be panel discussion where you can also ask directly the speakers. So without any further ado, I invite our first guest, Dr. Florian Tevnon from UNHABITAT. Floor is yours, Florian.
Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. And thank you very much, AIT, for organizing this event and for all the participants. So my name is Florian Tevnon. I'm based in Geneva. I'm working for UNHABITAT, and I'm responsible for the monitoring of the SDG 631 on wastewater. So I'm not going to make all the presentation, but just to show you 3 slides very quickly on one, in case you are not all familiar with this indicator 631, which is monitoring the proportion of wastewater safely treated. It's part of the UN Water IMI, it's the Integrated Monitoring Initiative. And I want to show you this one because it's sometimes there is a confusion between what WHO is doing, because WHO is responsible. We are 3 custodian agency. WHO is producing their own estimates based on the literature that they can find on the web. It can be official or not, but they are building their own estimate and they are liaising with the Ministry of Health. But they only look at household wastewater. But it's based on a sum of assumption. That means that even if a country is not reporting any wastewater data, WHO can produce estimate. And that's why sometimes there is a confusion. And the second confusion is that what we are doing with UNHABITAT is different. We are only reporting the official data that are transmitted by the government, generally through national statistic offices, but not when the process is not established, it's through the Ministry of Environment or Ministry of Water. or it can be also through the regulator, especially when you have industrial. So UNHABITAT is responsible for two sub-indicators. We don't call it like that, but we are producing a ratio for total wastewater and a ratio for industrial wastewater. I will show you the file just after. And we are working closely with the third co-custodian agency, with the United Nations Statistics Division, UNSD. And I wanted to show you this, the disaggregation that we use. We use industrial code, the ISIC codes, which mean agriculture, mining, manufacturing, which is industry, electricity, but excluding cooling water, water supply, construction, and then it's the services. So just to explain you why we have this disaggregation, that is the international disaggregation that is used by everyone and every statistical office. So I'm not going to show you the results, but just the final slide, because in 2015, we chose this year, which was the beginning of the 2013 agenda, and also it was the most populated year in the UNSD database. However, we only had data from 42 countries, and many of them were from Europe, because we also use Eurostat and OECD, which have their own database. And so it was about half and half. And but it's important to note that we did not want to develop a new framework, a new methodology. So we wanted to use what was existing. The country were not aware that we were going to use this data source. That's also the reason why it was relatively low. I mean, I hope that, and it's the objective of this webinar, we did some regional webinar in the other region before, is really to explain the methodology, what is existing, and trying to encourage people and ministry to report country which never reported any data to UNSD, and they can report directly to UNHABITAT. So this limited data suggests that about a third of total and industrial wastewater receipt before discharge, but as again, it's the lowest populated data of the SDG 6, 11 indicator, and we are the lowest reporting rate, and we need more countries to validate. We need half of the population and half, 200 UN member states to report, validate this. And we are going to produce an indicator report next year. So this year, and now we have already entered the data collection process. And I hope that this webinar and all our work, and with your support, we will be able to have more control. And I had another slide to show you on the questionnaire. So there is a UNSD questionnaire, and this is an adaptation of the UNSD questionnaire. As I say, we didn't want to overburden the country who are receiving so many questionnaire for all the indicators, and there are national statistic offices or ministries of environment are already receiving the UNSD questionnaire. So we wanted to improve it a little bit, because to adapt it to the 631 methodology, and for all the countries who are not reporting, say, okay, you can report to UNHABITAT, because there's another also issue that the reporting, the data collection is only every 2 years from UNHABITAT. Us, you have the opportunity to report more frequently, and then if the process is launched, and if you can report data, then another issue is linked with the national statistic offices, directly liaise with UNSD. But this is also something challenging for some countries. So, what we want to do now is to improve at a very short scale, and this year to have much more data from reporting. And the most important thing is to have some focal point contact in your country where we can liaise, and these focal points are also regular invited by UN Water we are organizing some events, some webinar with all the different indicators where in which we invite all the focal. We have a database for the SDG focal point. I'm responsible to update it regularly for 631. So please do not hesitate to send me your country who is responsible for this indicator, with who I could discuss about the questionnaire. And this is what we already did from the country who participated. But if there is any issue, if you want to modify it, sometimes people are moving or retirement or moving for another job. So please do not hesitate to send me any update and any new focal point. We have the main focal point and the emails that are copied in our correspondence. And this is really crucial for us to maintain the link and to send this questionnaire that I already sent in February to have to report this year, produce the indicator report. So very briefly, this is an adaptation, as I said, of the UNSD UNEP questionnaire on environmental statistics and the joint OECD Eurostat questionnaire on inland waters. They are really similar, but not exactly similar. So I try to merge them, and also I have received many comments from the country, from the focal point saying, oh, but I don't understand this or this. So I have improved it a little bit. So like the UNSD questionnaire does not say, for instance, that it's only point sources. So that's why I have point sources. From the UNSD questionnaire, you can, when you click on a cell like that, you have the definition, which is from UNSD. All the definition are all there. And that's something very important because it's simple, but concretely, and as the expert, I'm sure you can understand that it has to be very standardized. So as I showed before, this is the ISIC classification. For Europe, it's NACHE, but they are the same. So agriculture, but again, it's important to understand that it's not irrigation water, it's only the water that is used in the sector. Mining, so for industry, it's mainly manufacturing industry, and this is very difficult to have data from manufacturing industry because sometimes most of the time they are using their own water resources. So it's more from the regulator or for the Ministry of Energy for the discharge permit. Those are authorities that are responsible to allow the discharge permit of the tax that can give this information. Production, electricity, but again, very important, not cooling water. This one are less important, but they were missing in both questionnaire. And since we want to capture all the ISIC code, I had it. Also, response to the country, we notify it. Construction and other economic activity, which are in fact services in classification. So most accessible one is private household. So we are here in the wastewater generation part. So that's the most easily to say, to estimate how much wastewater is generated by household, given the water supply information. But yes, so the first variable that we expect, usually when a country is not reporting on the wastewater generated, first is the wastewater treated by household, but then also the wastewater generated by household, so that because if we don't have the generated and the treated information, of course, we can't calculate the ratio, but we can report anyway this variable. But the best, of course, is being able to calculate the ratio. So being able to estimate how much the volume of wastewater that is generated by household. And I also added these two lines for the industrial wastewater generated. So the sum of this one and the domestic is what we call domestic is services and household. So this is for the wastewater generated. And yeah, a major difference also it's basic, but this is a source of error, and maybe UNSD will be able to do it, but how they did not change it, that we are using the million cubic meter per year. It's also used by OECD Eurostat, but also UNSD in all their tables, they use million cubic meter per year. But in the table 4, which is from the UNSD questionnaire, they use another unit with 1,000 meter per day. This is a source of error for many countries that I want that here we are in cubic meter in million cubic meter. If you fill the new UNSD table, take care that they don't use the same unit. And this is also the easily part, which is wastewater treated in your main municipal wastewater treatment plant. And I have added here that it can include runoff and industrial wastewater treated, which is connected in sewer. Because sometimes it estimates based on household wastewater treatment, but what we want really to have is the monitoring from wastewater treatment plant and municipal or a urban wastewater treatment plant, generally also treating the runoff wastewater that is collected and also the industrial wastewater which have been purely treated or not. Important to know because sometimes people tell me, oh, but we don't have this information because there is runoff industrial. What we want to have it is really the monitor volume plant from the facility or the estimation. And we want also to distinguish, when possible, primary, secondary, and tertiary treatment, because for the we are reporting on the total, but also when it's available on the secondary and tertiary treatment, because for the definition of the indicator, the term safely refer to at least secondary treatment, because primary treatment is better than nothing, of course, but it's not really safe environment. With that, we can calculate the ratio of total industrial wastewater. And when possible, I know it's difficult for many countries, but that's also part of this webinar. We want to have some information about the industrial wastewater that is called other treatment. Again, primary, secondary. And what is also important for many countries, not available in Eurostat and OECD, but in UNSD questionnaire, is the wastewater treated in independent treatment facility with septic tank. You know that in no country, any septic do not consider that it's, but it's. With that, this is also something that is not present in the UNSD questionnaire that I have added, how to calculate the indicator so that country can understand. And sometimes they can report some variable in the questionnaire, but not use them for calculating the indicator when they understand how it is calculated. Because there are some countries who just report on, for instance, industrial wastewater treated, but they do not report on industrial wastewater generated. So it makes a case, you will have an indicator that is not good. And what has happened is that some countries have removed some variable from the UNSD questionnaire where there is already a very scarce data. So I would like to have the maximum of data, but if there is a bias or for any reason, some variable can be excluded from it. So with that, a country can really understand how the indicator is calculated. As I say, the total, we take all the variable, and the industrial, where we just take the related variable, and for safety, for at least secondary. It's a percentage, of course, and what is important is you can put some footnote. Sometimes, in the case of Bangladesh, for instance, know that it's only from one city, a bigger city, which is good for him, but it's important for us. There are some footnotes about the data sources, about the methodology. If estimation and not a monitor that or any detailed information that can be useful. Won't be report, but at least we have it as a footnote for understanding. So that's it. I hope I was not too long and clear, and I really encourage you to liaise with me. A lot of time available. I'm very happy if I can support us, and it's a win-win situation also to improve the monitoring. If you're in your country, as many countries, and I can tell you in Western Europe, we are now with the climate crisis, and which is the water crisis, and we don't know how much water is used, how much water is treated, how much water is available, and the objective is not, of course, just to fix the SDG, but really for the country to improve their water monitoring, again, adapt to the climate change crisis, to the increasing water use. Also, the objective is also to show how the water data are important for the water management and for policy. We don't have good monitoring without good policy and regulation, and water can really use, water data can really use to drive policy and to drive investment. When you don't have data, when you can see that there is water treatment, which is impacting the source and the health, you have many diseases, you have the impact on the economy, on the tourism, etc. So it's really not for the UN, but for the country, improve their monitoring and to take the water data in their policy, in their water resource management, in their investment plan, etc. Okay, thank you very much. And do not hesitate, as I say, if you want any information, if there is a focal point that can be, that I can discuss with, and etc. Thank you very much, Andra. Back to the floor.
Thank you very much, Dr. Florian, for the explanation. I think one of the things that I captured from your presentation, how to link the data to the global effort of monitoring indicators for SDG 631. As far as I understand, this is one of the challenges to link from local to national, and a different challenge to link from national to the global database. Thank you very much. And there are requests from participants regarding the presentations to share the presentation, as well as to access the list of questionnaires. I think we can share that in this chat, or we will share to every one of you through the email. The next speaker, I would like to invite Professor Tamarat Kutatet to discuss about lessons learned from promoting SDG 631 in South and Southeast Asia regions within the past 4 to 5 months. Professor Tamarat, the floor is yours.
Okay, and start. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Hendra, and also the foreign that helps explaining about this UN Habitats webinars, the series that we have done in the past 5 times, that we capture many things from the previous presentation, the seminar, and the speaker, and also the discussion, consultation with the audience, with the participants, that having the very interesting the discussions. So I just like to use the about 15 or 20 minutes this session to capture about the lesson learned that we have learned from the audience, that we have learned from the participants, and also from the presentation that we have captured from that. So with that, as we'd like to share with you a bit of this, the country initiated the data collections. So within our webinars, we have a good response from the South Asia country like Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, from Southeast Asia like Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, PDR, Philippines, and Thailand. Unfortunately, we cannot reach to the Indian agencies or the ministry that come up with this joining the webinars. But of course, at least 8 countries here in the South and Southeast Asia, it could be more than enough that we can learn from each other. So there are so many initiatives, many of those interventions related to that, the data collection and management. Of course, foreigners have been said that it would be nicer if our countries, our regions having the same pattern, the same format in the data collection and management. Then we can report to the JMP, to the UN agencies that, well, how can we compare to each other so that we can do the same progress, do and measure the same progress with the same benchmark. So with that, I'd just like to capture and then reiterate to you a bit of these kind of interventions that have done in the past. So starting with the Nepal, sorry. So there is NWatch, the institution that having the attached to the Ministry of Water Supply in Nepal. They're also having a kind of a data collection, try to formulate this kind of a data management, that having the map, having the sources of the data, and then having the indication of the data saying about that the sufficiency of the needs, daily needs, or the drinking water, and then so and so. So I think that could be the good initiative starting from the water sectors, that how they can provide enough or safely manage water, drinking water to the people in the regions. Then from that, the dashboard, SDG dashboard, in I think in the Indonesia's, they're also having this so-called initiative on the SDG dashboard, Bepanas, that having a very good formation of the data collection and monitoring system, that how they can collect all the data from the local authorities, from the utilities, that report to the central agencies, and then make a report and compare one to the other. So I think that would be the good management of the data collection in the Indonesia. So the other one is on that the SPOT, that from the Pollution Control Departments, that we also having our colleagues here in Thailand that present to us how we can use this kind of a dashboard, this kind of information in relation to the climate change, in relation to that how each of these kind of the treatment facilities on-site or off-site treatment system having the contribution to the greenhouse gas. So this kind of initiative, of course, is not report all of the wastewater yet. It needs to incorporate with the industrial wastewater so that we can report in formally to the UN agency, in a good way. So, but at least you can see that if we can manage the data, the information properly, we can link to the other sectors like the climate change, like the greenhouse gas emissions, and then we can be aware that we can get rid of this kind of a production of the greenhouse gas to the atmosphere from these kind of a wastewater sectors after having a very good information management. Yeah. Then from the water work, the metropolitan water and sewerage system that they can use in the I think in the Philippines. Then they can have quite a good data management using the GIS mapping as well, that we can trace back that what are the information and where are the information that collected, and then we can respond effectively that well from the water and the wastewater management. How can we do that? So this is a good example that our colleagues from the Metropolitan Water Works agencies in the Philippines has showing us. But of course, it's not just only for one city. Actually, the UN agency, they would like to have the country information that I'm sure that many other cities, they would need more efforts to do like this, the good case, the good lesson learned from the Manila cities. That could be nice. But of course, many other provinces, other cities need the same approach that we can do more and then collect all the data and report effectively to the UNs. Then the other ones that we have learned from the wastewater treatment plant, the water treatment plant in the I think in the Bangladesh, that they're having lots of that information related to that the new programs, new projects in the country. Bangladesh is one of the very fast growing country in the region. They have so many projects from the development banks or even from the ministry themselves that invests a lot on the water and wastewater treatment systems. So I think that would be the things that after having this kind of the facilities, how we can get into the information management, in particular to that, the operation and maintenance. I think this is another thing that in the future, the Bangladesh agencies need the kind of information for the management. But of course, not just for that, to report the progress of that, how much of the wastewater coming into your treatment plant and how much percentage that can collect from the city, from the area, that we can report properly to the UN habitats. So I think that are the kind of the snapshots of those presentation that present nicely. I would not wish to repeat again, but just to capture to you that there are so many initiatives, but you can see that there's not that conform to each other. They somehow they have different means, different format, different kind of approach to collect the data, to manage the data, and also to interpret the data. So with that, I just like to share some ideas of that, the progress of the SDG 6.3.1. I think Florian has been saying to you in several webinars in the past, in the previous sessions, that still we need more and more data in our region, in Southeast Asia. We can see that many of the gray country that no data or data not available yet. So even we have certain country having the data, but it is quite small. It is only not more than 50%. Like in Thailand, for example, my country, we can report only a few parts of our informations to the UN system. So that I think that still we need a lot of effort. But from these kind of lesson learned, what can we do? So this initiative, we say that on the components of this comprehensive data management, we found out that monitoring and understanding how wastewater is treated and reused is very essential. And then what are the requirements to meet the water and sanitation sectors? I think this is a very important as well. That is not just to have the facilities and don't know what is the needs, what is the compliance to your standards or not. That would be the critical components. And this can help update the status of the wastewater infrastructure, whether it is effectively analyzed and management of the wastewater or not. That could be very important. Then from this, the UNSD questionnaire for the SDG 6.3.1 can provide a standardized data collection formats. I think this is something that we have shared. We have a common ideas that if we just get the data, but too much of data without any good management of the data, it is a kind of a garbage. So that if we can standardize the data collection format, then we can simply interpret, we can simply analyze the data to which the policy, the guidance, the intervention that we can form from this kind of data management. Then Then from the compliance with the standard and regulation, that's of course, every country, we have our own national standards and regulations. Definitely, we need to comply with the standards, but the monitoring and the data management is important that whether it is comply with the standard. Of course, the percentage of the wastewater coming down to your treatment facility is important, but after that, the quality data to say that whether it can comply or not, that also quite important, which is the technical advisory support would help the government strengthen the effective data system, so that we can say it is safely managed sanitation or safely managed wastewater. It doesn't mean that you come to have a very big investment in your country and say that, well, we get a very good percentage of the wastewater collections, but how can we report that it is properly managed as well? Then the questionnaire from this SDG 6.3.1 could be a useful tool to enable the institution to collect and analyze the common data. That also quite important, compare one city to the other, for example. Then the other things on that, the data management is about the accuracy or reliability of such data. So these are the things that from many of discussion, many of the presentation, we have learned that availability of the accuracies and the reliability of interconnected data among agencies across the different platforms. It is there, but it is very crucial to re-evaluate that whether and how we can make use of that information to be more accurate, to be more reliable, and then we can interconnect. For example, that as far as I understand, our country, the pollution control department, control the data, manage the data on the domestic wastewater, whereas the Ministry of the Industry control the data, manage the data on the industrial wastewater. But if they are in different platforms, how can we ensure that it is accurate, it is reliable, and then can cross-check from one to the others? So if we can follow this kind of UNSD questionnaire, it could be a kind of a more cohesion among the agency and policies that we can simplify or streamline that kind of a platform to each other. Otherwise, one ministry will have one platform and then not talk to each other. So this kind of connecting the local effort to the national reporting can make a significant contributions to the Thailand's, like the SPOT in Thailand, IMAS in Nepal and India. So that are the point of the views that we have captured from the lesson learned from this, the reliability or accuracy of the data. And then with that, I just like to put a kind of the way forwards for this SDG 6.3 monitoring. It is important to think that in the SDG discussion, we're saying that, well, we are far behind the SDG targets, so that we need more accelerations in the progress. So the definition for the accelerators that apart from the financings, of course, we need to finance more and more treatment facilities, more and more investment in terms of the infrastructures. Apart from that, we need the innovation, we need the governance, we need the capacity development. And then it is the things that we can help accelerate. But importantly for our session here, that we need more reliable data to support the better decision-making and stronger accountabilities. That's very important, that to ensure that the SDG progress. It doesn't mean only that we collect the data, we invest a lot of that, the money, the budget for the infrastructure, but how can we ensure that we can set a systematic reporting system, and also that provide the decision makers that, hey, This is the critical area. This is the hotspot area that we need to invest more. That's why the data information management from this SDG 6.3.1, this is very crucial to use more. Then from this, the suggestion from the lesson learned that we have learned together from this webinar is that we need more investment in the comprehensive wastewater data management system. Some of them, as far as I have heard, that they also try to have a kind of an online data monitoring system. That's nice, but of course it comes with the cost. Then the investment, we have to think in advance that how can we get into that information management, either online, either offline, and then of course after we provide the data, how can we manage the data and systematically put into the same template, put into the same platform, then we can report properly. And this can adopt the UNSD questionnaire and establish the platform in the report and management. And then the last but not the least is that how the country can ensure that those facilities, those treatment plants, those agencies can operate and maintain the facility that in compliance with the standard and regulation with the accuracies and the reliable data. Then with that, I'd like to thanks a lot for your attendance. And of course, we also like to learn from Cambodian friends as well, that they also having a very good infrastructure development. Cambodia is one of the very fast growing in Southeast Asia that we can learn from their initiative, their projects, their program, that how can they manage? There are so many investors like the World Bank, Asian Development Bank, invest in the watch sector in Cambodia. But after having the facilities, what are they planning to do that? I think our following presentations, my colleagues there can present to you more, and then we can capture another lesson learned from Cambodia. With that, thank you very much for your kind attendance.
Sure. Thank you very much, Professor Tamar, for the wonderful presentations. It's interesting to learn from you that cohesion between agencies and the requirement for a common platform to connect everyone, every agencies, and also data is essential in every country. Because as far as I understand, we have, for example, SDG Secretariat Office at the national level. We have also water utilities with its own data management system. And also we have Ministry of Industry, as you mentioned, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, for example, they have their own data for industrial wastewater. How to connect these agencies and how to harmonize the data into one simple platform to measure, in this case, SDG 631 is very important. And I also capture that the technical advisory is a necessity to make that happen. And I think also from the previous experience in the past decade, a lot of countries are focusing more to increase access to sanitation. I think it is now the time to measure how much wastewater do we treat after those investment of wastewater treatment systems, be it individual, decentralized or centralized or citywide treatment. Thank you very much for your insights. I would like to invite participants. If you have questions, please write down before we go into the next session. I think, I would invite Mr. Chow Pibal from Cambodia to present about Cambodia's current situation of wastewater management. As mentioned by Professor Tamar, Cambodia is one of the fast-growing country, and they are also not only developing the economy, but also developing the sanitation sectors. Without any further ado, Mr. Chow Pibal, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Gupta. Today it's my great honor to be here and to share with you on our Cambodian current situation of wastewater management. Actually, it is my first time, and I'm honor to be invited by Professor Kamarat. Yeah, we met by chance. So today is my first time and to share with you all about Cambodian. So what we are going to share with you, we have 6 polling points. One about Cambodian land. Second, our ministry investment structure and responsibility. Third, current status of wastewater and sewage system in Cambodia. Fourth, challenges and solutions. Fifth, wastewater and sewage system management. And the last one, way forward. This is just information sharing only, and if you may have questions on other actions, so we willing to cooperate with you. So first, let me go first point. As you may know, as you may know, 25.4% of Cambodian people living in the city based on an SDG 2019-2023, and this number will double in 2030, and only estimated 61.7% of people live in the city or urban area have access to water supply system in 2020, according to an SDG 2019-2023, where the survey system and connection rate is below 5%. And in total, approximately 2.5 to 3.2 million cubic meter of wastewater released in a day in Cambodia, for your information. We have 24 provinces and 1 municipality in Cambodia. Okay, and in Cambodian economy is heavily relied on our rich groundwater and rainwater and sewage water, and which is dominated by Mekong and Punjab River. And in Cambodia, we adopt water as our white gold based on our Prime Minister said during the 4th Asia Pacific Water Summit in April 2022. And as for our Ministry Public Works and Transport is mandated to build, maintain, and manage all the transportation infrastructure such as road, bridge, port, railway, waterway, drainage, and sewage system, and also wastewater treatment plant. And our ministry structure consists of general directorate of administration and finance. Of course, we have general directorate of sewage and wastewater management, where I am working for. And this is the structure of our ministry, for your information sharing only. And as for the structure of our general directorate of sewage and wastewater management, we have 3 departments underneath. We have General Affairs and Information Department. We have Sewage System Research Department, and also we have Sewage System Construction and Maintenance Department. And below that we have offices as shown on the slide. Actually, our general department, our general directorate of Sewage and Wastewater Management is just promoted from Department of Sewage and Construction Wastewater Management in late 2019. So the full structure in March 2020. So it's newly established of our General Directorate of Sewage and Wastewater Management, for the information. And this is our responsibility to share with you, in case as we are today the first time to share our information to you all. So our mission is to develop policy, regulation, strategy, master plan, and development plan for sewage system, which for smart management, site and wastewater treatment system in our country. And also we have developed technical instruments related to construction, operation, and maintenance. So this is our responsibility. I will not go long that, and we can share you the slide later on. I think the slide we share already to our moderator, so you can share that on our group as well. So as for the third point that I'd like to share with you also, concerning to the current status of wastewater and sewage system in Cambodia. As of 2021, there are only 3 centralized wastewater treatment plants under operation, with a total capacity of 37 1,850 cubic meters per day. Currently, there are more wastewater treatment plants under design and construction. It is expected that the total capacity of wastewater treatment would be more than 82,000 cubic meters per day. At about less than 5% of urban wastewater volume is collected and treated properly to the standard nationwide. Most of the existing urban drainage and sewage system are combined sewage system, and collection system is less than 5%. Most of the wastewater is primarily treated in septic tank of each household before discharging into public drainage system. Decentralized wastewater treatment is now more and more developed and applied in practice in Cambodia. Most common method for sludge treatment is dumping and backfilling, and sludge from the septic tank collected by private companies and sometimes improperly dumped into the environment. So this is the current status of our wastewater and sewage system in our country, and the photo they are showing about wastewater treatment plant centrally in Siem Reap, in Sihanoukville, and also in Battambang. So this slide shows you about information on each wastewater treatment plant. In this slide, we have four. We have three wastewater treatment plants in place and one under construction. The one under construction is in Phnom Penh city, our municipality granted by Japan. The treatment capacity only 5,000 cubic meters per day. It is a pilot project, and this project is expected to complete in November this year and operated next year. And this is for the promotion as well for our centralized wastewater treatment plant. As for our challenges and solutions, currently we share with you about our immediate, our short-term challenges, because our general department is just established in mid 2020. So our challenges is we come up with 5 challenges that we already approved within our management. The first one is budget for implementation on O&M, because we have also concern on budget for implementation on O&M. Of course, we have a problem on human resource, not problem, but we lack of human resource. We don't have enough human resource to operate for our system. And also we don't have land enough for future construction of wastewater treatment plant and landfill facility. And also we have some overlapping between ministry and land ministry institutions as well. And also we have cost recovery problem. We don't have cost recovery scheme at the moment. And on the right side, we have a solution. We propose solution for each challenge for the information. We continue to strengthen cooperation with land ministry and institution and development partners. We requested for approval for staff transfer and for procedure for staff recruitment for completed projects. We issue request letter to all 25 capital cities to reserve land. We continue to disseminate the relevant rule and regulation, and also we continue to cooperate with land ministry, institution, and development partners to develop cost recovery framework. So all solutions we propose here is under implementation for your information. As for our wastewater and sewage system management, actually we have manage our wastewater and sanitation system through our internal and external platform. Our external platform, we have IIT.WG, what we call integration regional infrastructure technical working group. We also sub-technical working group on urban wastewater sanitation, and also we also have AVAP, Asian Wastewater Management Partnership. And beside the internal and external platform, we also have regulation like SDG 235. We have on Chapter 3, Article 15 to 25, we set measure on the management of wastewater and sewage system and wastewater treatment plant for household, commercial, building, local authorities, etc. And also we have, besides that, we have we manage our wastewater and sanitation sector through our project implementation through both national and development partner budget. We have also assistance and cooperation from development partner as well. Now we are doing sewer connection program. We are developing wastewater strategy and policy. We raise public awareness and communication with household, with local people. We also develop citywide plan, citywide inclusive sanitation in Phnom Penh master plan. We also develop high-level framework for cost recovery and financing budget supported from our development partner. Yeah, this is for your information, and this is a bit detailed concerning to our management through our internal and external platform for your further information. So AIT.UG, actually we have 9 sub-technical working group, and one of our sub-technical working group on urban wastewater and sanitation is one of the 9 sub-technical working group. And under the umbrella of AIT.UG, we also have AWAP ASEAN Wastewater Management Partnership, and the membership of this this partnership initiated by Japan, and at the moment we have only member representative from Cambodia, Indonesia, Myanmar, Philippines, Vietnam, and Japan. Yeah, and also to manage our wastewater sector, of course, we have our regulation, and some regulation. Even though we have regulation, that's not enough. We still develop law on wastewater also, and besides that, we have project supported from our development partner from Japan, from China, from EDCF, Korea, from French, from ADB, from World Bank, from Australia, yeah, of course, from our national market also. Our government also supporting in this wastewater sector as well. This is part of our management, and this is just some example of our project progress. Like here, we have a completed project like draft law on wastewater system. We complete the draft law, and we have also complete technical guidelines for planning. Whatever this is more on top measure, we have finished study master plan on some targeted provinces and cities as well. And also we have ongoing work like survey strategy development plan on Cambodian. We get support from P4I Australia, P4I. We have also get support from Australian high-level cost recovery framework. This is work undergoing for your information. This is our project as well, and this some photo activity concerning. This is our excellency senior minister. Sometimes he visit the project site. We also have CCTV camera to check the pipeline, random check on the pipeline also. And also we have project on water supply and sanitation project from World Bank, and currently it's under implementation. The progress is about 10% up to now. We have a solid waste and plastic projects also under support funded from World Bank, and we complete a feasibility study. Also, we have a project under ADB wastewater treatment plan, and this several project supported by ADB. We have completed project, we have ongoing, and we have project pipeline for your information as well concerning to wastewater and sewage system sector. We also have project under ADB fund landfill, and some facility completed in several provinces in Cambodia. We have like completed project we have in Kampong Chnang, Staff, Battambong, Stan. This is the province of Cambodia, and also we have several other in ongoing project, and we have also proposed project in pipeline as well to build the infrastructure for landfill for your information. And our best practice through our AWAP partnership project, we have some activity. We have raising awareness on wastewater management. We have combined organized event like what we call Japan Cambodian Fisuna Festival, 3 years. We conduct 3 years in a row before COVID-19, and now we are planning next festival on public awareness on wastewater sector as well. And as for the overall, this is the report that we get from Sustainable Development Report in 2022. Overall performance in our country, Cambodian ranking 107 over 103, and country score 53.8%, regional average 55.9%, and internal spillover index. We also have got the case that we use compared to the previous report, we have 97.6%. This is for your information, and yeah, this is based on report from Sustainable Development Report as well. And also I get share with you also I get report from WHO and UNICEF GMP Joint Meeting Program 2023 for Cambodia on sanitation. For safely managed, we have 36%. Yeah, basic service 40%. This is what I get from WHO for your information. Also, so as for the last point, I'd like to share with you for way forward. I think it's not so relevant to our meeting today, so I would not read. I just give pay and back to our moderator, Mr. Gupta. So thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye. Back to you, Gupta.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chautibal, for the comprehensive presentation. It's interesting move on sanitation in Cambodia. And yeah, we've seen a lot of progress in terms of, efforts of Cambodia in setting up wastewater treatment facilities, citywide wastewater treatment facilities, and also some other efforts for decentralized system and also some individual system. And I would like to have your opinion. I would like to know about the SDG 631. Before that, I would like to invite our participants here to ask questions to Mr. Tipal if you need some clarification. But I would like to start. What is your plan, in this case, your office, the plans on wastewater data management? I see in the last slide regarding the ways forward for Cambodia is that a lot of effort on setting up the law and also making coordination with organizations. But I haven't seen any regarding data management. Do you have that in the plan, sir? Thank you.
Yeah, to answer your question quickly, as I showed you on our organization chart, actually we have 3 departments, and we have 1 department, a department of wastewater research. His responsibility is to manage and to monitor to get this data. Actually, now we get support, budget support from our national. We are develop data management on this, but in the process. Yeah. Now what we are doing, we get the data through Excel format. We write the letter to provincial department to give us to fill in our template. But we have also developed the software to manage the data management on that. This is under the Department of Research Department, Wastewater Research Department. Yeah, thank you.
Perhaps you can clarify how often or how frequent is the data collection for update purposes?
Actually for SDG 6.3.1, it is not under our ministry. It is under Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Industry who in charge to collect data. But our ministry is in charge of SDG 6.3.2. 6.3.2, but it's relevant. But for our internal, we manage this data. What is under our responsibility is not nationwide.
Right. Can you tell me your opinion regarding the SDG 6.3.1 questionnaire that was presented by Dr. Florian? Whether you have that in your, whether you have that in your hand in. I understand you mentioned it is in the Ministry of Environment, but I think some of the data there is pretty straightforward. Like, for example, the amount of wastewater treated by wastewater treatment in one city.
I briefly share with you concerning to the overall data or information on wastewater. It is one organization who in charge of that, UNICEF. I one time joined the meeting with UNICEF. So UNICEF is in the role of collecting data, coordinating with relevant line ministry. But that I show you on nationwide for safely managed waste sanitation. We have 36. This is that I get from this UNICEF, from this institution. So overall, I'm not in the role of tell you all about that.
Right. Thank you very much. I understand that you have to leave early. May I ask, before you leave, may I ask Dr. Florian or other participants if you have questions to Mr. Pibal?
If I may, yes, maybe not
Yes,
so
please.
many questions because you already asked about the data, but just to congratulate, that was an excellent presentation for me. It's rare, so it's for me it was really complete. I mean, from the regulation to and it's very rare to saw a presentation like that and so many information about waste, because during many years the attention and the investment have largely focused on sanitation and fecal management, which of course very important, but not so much on waste. So with this SDG, this indicator, we really want to also the attention on waste. UNICEF and WHO are already working on sanitation and fecal sludge management. But I saw many interesting things, like there was more than 60% of the population having access to water supply, but only 5% connected to sewerage. So we can imagine the impact in the environment on the quality of the water resources, on the biodiversity, and on tourism. I saw also a very organized structure under the Directorate of Sewerage and Waste Management. So the framework is there, and as you mentioned, the data management should also be there. So I was also a bit surprised by the low number of wastewater treatment, but I understand that decentralized is also maybe a better option, and both are increasing. So we also like the challenges and the solutions that you have identified, and regarding operation and maintenance, the land, you need land, and the policy and regulation and building awareness. So this is really a very complete view, I think, there. And as it was said, it's an intersectorial issue with many different institutions and ministry, and water and wastewater management is so no, I really want to thanks again for this great presentation, and also Andra and Professor Tamarat, who are very good. They are excellent ambassadors for 631. I really would like to thank you, and your question and your remark. To work at regional level with a common standardized system is good. And of course, 631 is really basic. I mean, it's complex, but it's basic. So country have also to go much beyond, and especially because the indicator is not capturing the compliance, the quality of the effluent, which are monitored by the plant. And that's our problem, is that in many cases, the plants are monitoring the effluent compliance, the quality regarding the standard and the regulation, but not the volume of water. So we really want to encourage have the volume, but of course we understand, and this is a proposition that we have in mind, to go beyond and to include the compliance and the monitoring of the meters, BOD, COD, nitrogen, etc. So, and maybe a last thing that I forgot to say, that in our new phase with UN Water, we want to select 3 or 5 countries per year to have an in-depth support. Countries who have such framework, such data, but they are not aggregate yet. So we would like to post 3 or 5 countries in the world per year, which means necessarily 1 or 2 in Alaska everywhere, as UNHABITAT wants to do that, but also with the other UN agency. So maybe we will have some contact later on, because I thought that Thailand has excellent data, but we could have some industrial wastewater data. Philippines, Indonesia, Nepal, Bangladesh, and now Cambodia. All these countries have great knowledge and great data, but they are not yet reporting. So maybe a little help, a little support would provide some good progress data management. Very much, and I invite the floor to question. I don't have so many questions, but yes, congratulations. That's very, very interesting, and I hope that we can, your country could report, because you have some data and you had some great investment. Thanks you very much. Over.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Florian. Mr. Pibal, how much time do you still have?
Yeah, please. 10 to 15 minutes more. Yeah, fine.
Okay. If you still have time, we would like to have you in the discussion. Today we have 3 former speakers, Mr. Pankam, Mr. Chayawi, and also Mr. Isabel. I think we can invite them to have their opinion, to speak a little bit, because they have the experiences of using the SDG 631 questionnaires with 3 different setups of countries, one from the Philippines, one from Thailand, and one from Laos. So each of the country have their own structure and for sure have their own challenges. So if you still have time, Mr. Chow, please stay in the discussion to get a grip of knowledge or experience from our previous speakers. So may I invite Dr. Chayavi from Thailand to speak first. So the question would be, I think you're one of the first, how to say, users or adopter of this SDG 6.3.1 questionnaires. And after some times you elaborate all this information, this data from your office, and also communicating with other agencies within your scope. So can you tell us, can you describe the steps that you took from when you received that questionnaire? What was the first step? And also, how do you think it relates to your current work, which is consider having this DSPOT, the public-owned treatments data management? Over to you, Dr. Chayawi.
Thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Yeah, I think the problems that we have the most is that whether how can the data is estimated. So I think a lot of time that we spent before was actually trying to estimate first what is the I think probably like the factor that we actually going to use. We spend a lot of time doing research on how like the data that we have in a specific area to basically make like a factor for many of the really crucial parameter that we use, like for example how much water that people in Thailand is used on daily basis, and how much, like for example BOD load that people are emitting for each of the activity. So and that is actually required a lot of cooperation with the university. I think AIT included. AIT also joined in some of our projects that we actually go in to many households in Thailand and then measure how dirty the water in each of the activity of people in Thailand is and how much water that they are using in each day. And we, not only that, when we have this kind of factor, we have to actually verify them against like real data. For example, if we have how many population in such an area, then we actually compare it with like actual water use, and then probably compared with like common factor that people are using in Thailand. For example, like most of we are using is like wastewater is like 80% of the tap water use, something like that. Is it making sense in every area that we are using? And when we finish doing a lot of factor, then we begin to have gather information from other agency, like how many population, like population data, and that give us like information on like crudely how much wastewater is actually generated. The wastewater treat is another issue, which is a little bit difficult. We have like, as I described before, we have like maybe like close to 200 central wastewater treatment plant in Thailand, and probably like a couple hundred of like cluster system. And we actually really want to know the status of this wastewater treatment plant operation, at least by monthly basis. And it take a lot of effort from our regional office to like set them to go to each of the wastewater treatment plant at least once by every 2 or 3 months to gather the data. And we know that the data should be shared. That's why we build a dispatch system, so that when there's an event, like when any of our local office visit, like regional office visit any wastewater treatment plant, then they can input the progress to the system, so that the activity can be shared to all the regional office. So all the regional office like it kind of like understand that what kind of activity all the regional office is doing inside each of the wastewater treatment plant. So they kind of like understand by reading all the regional office activity, and then this begin to diffuse, like distribute to understanding to all the regional office. Another difficult thing that we has been trying to do recently is to actually estimate on how much greenhouse gas that we actually reduce by treating water properly. And that, because Thailand is one of the also actually commit to greenhouse gas reduction as like a zero greenhouse gas reduction by 2050, I think. Like we actually begin to make also a factor to actually estimate how much greenhouse gas that we reduce by gathering or the wastewater to treat properly at our central wastewater treatment plant, and actually input that into the system, so that into the dispatch system, so that it can be shared with other governmental organization on the progress of this wastewater sector, on how much greenhouse gas that we have been reduced from our business as usual condition. Yeah, I think yeah, that's what I have so far.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chayawi. It's very well noted that a lot of effort that you have invested with your teams in factoring all the parameters and also estimating the wastewater and also greenhouse gas emission. I will now move to our next former speaker, Ms. Isabel Bagapuro from the Metropolitan Water Works and Sewage System. More or less, I have the same questions like I previously mentioned to Dr. Chayawi. I think you started, you received the questionnaires, I think about 2 weeks ago, and now you're in the process of collecting the data, collecting the data from your laboratories or from your data system. Can you tell us about the challenges and also positive points that you capture from the process?
Yes. Yes. MWSS is the water service provider in only 3 regions in the Philippines. Philippines has 17 regions, and we are only responsible for the supply of water in the National Capital Region, Region 4A, and some parts of the province of Cavite. So we only cover that area for the water service in the 3 regions. So the whole of Philippines, we cannot give you the data. So our problem in the answering of the questionnaire is we can only provide data and under our service coverage, and also the wastewater generated from the domestic households. So the data from industries and commercial establishments are under the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Environmental Management Bureau. So I think the proper agency with the complete data on wastewater generated and the wastewater treated is the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Environmental Management Bureau. So in our reply to you, we'll be giving you the Excel file with the accomplished data on the wastewater treated by our both concessionaires. The problem with the form also, it's in the percentage coverage, but it does not ask us to put in the population base, because every city and municipality, we have the different population. So, or maybe you can put there in the Excel file the total population served with water, and then so that we can input the total population covered by sewerage and sanitation services. So by that we can consolidate data, total coverage for this total population served with water as against the total population served with sewerage services and sanitation services. That's our initial comment.
Thank you very much, Ms. Isabel. I think I agree with you. Covering the data from one country is a big challenge, considering that, like, for example, your office is only responsible for 3 regions in the Philippines, while the Philippines has 17 regions, if I understand it correctly. So the DENR is covering all this data, or other institute?
The DENR EMB is in charge of the whole nation. So they should have the data for nationwide coverage.
Okay, thank you very much. I see Dr. Florian raise his hand, please.
Yeah, very quickly, for the remark on the population, because that's why I have developed our own questionnaire, which is aligned with UNSD, because my understanding is that you are speaking about the table 5, which is about the population. And since we don't report on that, I have removed it, but this is something that I already asked to UNSD to clarify, because I also don't understand it. Because when we are speaking about population, usually we are monitoring the equivalent population. And in this case, I also don't understand it. I also had this remark before, just to remind you that for 631, we don't take this data, this information. So I have removed it from the questionnaire that I just put in the chat box, and that was sent to all my focal point. We don't take this information, and I already asked to UNSD to clarify. And just on Thailand, thank you very much. That's really very informative for us, because this is something that I don't really know how to be. And sometimes countries are asking me, yes, okay, but what is the methodology? How do you do it? So extremely important, your feedback. And maybe when we are organizing some webinars, you could also present how you did, because this would be very informative for the country who never did it, and are sometimes asking me, okay, there is a methodology, but concretely how you do it, and I don't have this knowledge and information. So very much for your effort, both of us, and maybe the next future, this is something that you could present. It would be really helpful. Both of you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Florian. I would like to ask both of you, Ms. Isabel and also Dr. Chayawi, regarding the potential of adopting the SDG 631 into components of those, especially in sheet 4, into the existing system. But before that, I would like to ask Mr. Pankam from Laos. Mr. Pankam, how are you?
Yes, I'm fine. Can you hear me?
Wonderful. Yes, I can hear you very well. I think you also just started with the SDG questionnaire, SDG 631 questionnaires, and I think you spent some time already elaborating and also understanding the questions and also contextualizing that to Lao. Can you tell us your experience? Can be positive point, difficulties, what to improve, and perhaps how the global efforts support this activity in every country. Over to you, Dr. Pankam.
Yes, but thank you. Normally for the in Laos, regarding the last meeting, I send the questionnaire relating to the wastewater to the people who are respond on the project, like water supply and sanitation project, to collect data. But regarding the sanitation in Laos, the sanitation in Laos is one of tasks that relate to the water supply sector. So in the past, the development and management of the works went hand in hand with the development and management of water supplies, such as the construction of the Latin and also publics. In addition, the development of the sanitation infrastructure is not centralized. That is responsible by the many parts, this many responsibility are not sufficiently clear. So, but now we already approved the water supply and sanitation strategy. In that time, we also set the goal for the development on the wastewater. The sanitation, especially on the wastewater, like to develop and expand the sanitation infrastructure from provincial and district municipal to a new town. It's like an indoor area. But for the in the city, like in the secondary city, we also how to say, we also construction the wastewater treatment plant for the domestic wastewater, but only on the some communication some community, yeah, only some community, but not all the city. So that's why it's quite that I said before that in the first time during we have meeting, I said that the wastewater is become in the problem in my city in Laos. So that's all. Thank you.
So yes, thank you very much. How far have you gone now with the process of data collection in Laos? I think in relation to the questionnaires.
Yes, for the data that's now I already sent to my police since last month, but I still waiting from him. Maybe if I got it, I will send to you.
Great, great. Yes, thank you very much for that. I think, yeah, I'll go back to Dr. Chayawi and also Ms. Isabel regarding my previous questions on potentials of, also to Mr. Pankam, potential of adopting and utilizing the current questionnaires, SDG 631, incorporating that into the existing system. Can you tell us your opinion briefly on that?
Me first, right?
Okay, please. Sorry.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think from my experience with working with another team on actually on greenhouse gas emission, I think probably we might need like a good estimation programs, because right now it kind of like when, as I told you, like when we estimate for wastewater, we kind of like using our internal emission factor, which who knows if it accurate or not. In my experience working with greenhouse gas emission programs, kind of like many of the emission factors kind of like generalized for many countries to use the same, and estimation process is kind of like similar, is kind of like unified among many countries. If that happen, I think it's critical to integrate this kind of system into our official system reporting, because we know that what kind of data we should actually tell everyone together. Now it's almost like if you ask two agencies, like if you ask pollution control department, seriously, we actually have as our own estimation of industrial wastewater, but we cannot tell other people because it's our own internal estimation. If you ask Ministry of Industry, they will have another figure for you. The reason we are not reporting is that because we don't want to report a number that is actually so different from Ministry of Industry. Yeah, but it's probably kind of like funny, but it's actually like it's the truth. Like the problem is something like that. So we kind of like not reporting that internally we have or the factor from each type of the factory, but we kind of like really want it to be universal. Like it's like for example, emission for greenhouse gas emission from each kind of industry. We probably have that internationally, the figure, the like factor that can be used, so that we don't have to fight among ourselves, for example, like that. Yeah, if it has a system like that, like the program like that, then it's very easy. Like when you put in number of the factory, or you put in number, like how much each kind of the factory is actually producing, and use the emission factor to estimate for wastewater. That gonna be easy, because that is doable. Yeah, but if you don't, then like now we have like for Thailand, if you know, we have like 106 type of the factory, and each of the factory has subcategory. Believe me, I have each of the emission factor from each subcategory internally that we use, but we that is a lot of effort that we have been done in the past, but we believe me, the factor is not the same with other people. Yeah, so, so that is a lot of challenge. Domestic part is not that difficult, because because it's only our people who who make emission factor. So it kind of like other people listen to pollution control department alone. So we kind of like establish ourselves as the sole provider of information for Thailand. So that's why we give all information domestically to you, not difficult. Yeah, by ourselves. Yeah. But I think I will be happy if that like if internationally or regionally if we have like basically method of estimation. Yeah, announce that yeah, that this is how much data that you should be gathered, and this is roughly emission factor that we are using for estimating everything. Yeah, and even the programs like for greenhouse gas people, they have like I think is what is called ECAM2. Like you can basically input all your national data inside this program. They estimate everything for you. Easy. Yeah. And if we can have that kind of program, I think it will help the other country who actually don't know how to estimate. Yeah, very easily. That is my opinion.
If I may quickly, I don't think that that is available for water. I know that people generally use for domestic 80% is consumption, supply is wastewater generated. I know that this ratio is generally used of with no real sense for that. And for the treatment, it's the monitoring or what made when something like that. I think I thought before hearing you that wastewater was much more easy than greenhouse gas, and greenhouse gas is something that we can't measure. I mean, we can't estimate the CO2 or the methane. We do not measure. So my understanding is that without the possibility to, we have to build this estimation. But I don't think it exists. But your experience, yeah.
Yeah, another input is that if you are like the engineer who is at the site, even wastewater estimate is sometimes discrepancy different from site to site. One site may be using weir system to estimate how much wastewater is generated, but for another site they don't have weir system. So they use like estimation from the pump, efficiency of the pump, and multiply by working hour. And if you don't ask them anything and then you let them input the data, sometimes it look very funny, seriously, because method of estimation is very different, and then finally, if you have to go in and talk to them, then they'll say that, oh, I estimate like this, because you never tell us how we should estimate something like that. So that's that is like the detail in everything that we have experienced, that even wastewater, which is should be easy, how much wastewater going to the treatment system, how much the treatment system emission is really is estimated by each of the system at different method, and we kind of like hope that there should be some guideline to help people when there's a question. You should do this as the first method, and you do that as a second method. And if you yeah, it will help a lot, and probably getting a better quality data. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
No, that's a great feedback. I mean, I really like this this feedback, and because I know that sometimes if it's beverage companies that is extracting water, of course, my experience, what we did in Ghana, is that it was to monitor data from the industry. But maybe this is something that we can work together if we have the opportunity to have a small support. I say we try to engage with the country, and I think when your experience and you are very rigorous, and this is much appreciated, and I think maybe we can develop some basic guidelines based on your experiences.
Yeah. That
Thank
would
you
be
very much. Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think we can, though we have completed the webinar, 6 webinars, we can still contact each other for new.
I hope.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And,
I hope we can continue to.
So I will
Also,
go.
just to mention the focal point database, that is very important. So it keeps the momentum with all the other also SDG a regular event where you can be impacted. And for us, just for this small group, important momentum. Yes. And yeah, thank you very much.
Exactly. So Ms. Isabel and Mr. Pankam, what do you think the potentials of adopting the questionnaires that we share with you, incorporating that into the system? I think for MWSS and for Mr. Pankam is with the new regulation, how can we influence the government or the responsible institution in Laos to start with data management? Maybe Ms. Isabel first, please. Thank you.
Yes. Speaking of the wastewater generated or wastewater treated within the MWSS distribution system, most of our STPs or sewage treatment facilities have their own influent and effluent meters, but in some cases wherein the meter is not functioning properly, we also use that pump efficiency measurement of volume. That's just like the one discussed earlier. And the problem with our data, we only, just like as I have mentioned earlier, we only have data for our distribution system. It does not represent the whole of the Philippines wastewater volume treated and generated and treated. So I think it's proper to communicate with or cooperate with, coordinate with the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, Environmental Management Bureau for the whole of Philippines data.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pankam?
Yeah, it's hard for me to answer for this question. Yeah, actually, there's as in I think in Laos the number of data that from wastewater generation is we cannot collect all, but regarding like we calculate from the water supply consumption is 80% is the 80% from the water supply consumption is the become to wastewater. But as only the sum of the community that we can collect, we can calculate the amount of the wastewater domestic, only domestic. But for the industrial and other is the other agencies, like and some also like the Department of Pollution under Ministry of Natural Resource and Environmental. I think this one is the nowhere, but I think I will discuss with them more for the more detail. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Pankam. We hope we can further proceed to the next step with all the countries involved in these webinars. Dr. Florian, you raise your hand, please. You're muted.
Yes, so very quickly on what was said by Philippines, but it's good to start from somewhere, and the next indicator report, we had this discussion, and I choose to report some data that were reported to you. So from Bangladesh, in fact, it was only the data from one city, Dhaka, and from Tanzania, it was also the data only from one city, Dar es Salaam. But this is something that we can put in the footnotes. Data are from 7 regions or from 2 cities. But in volume, it's still something important, and also that this reporting is a good start and some progress. So if it's able to have to start, even if it's in region, it's more than 1 or 2 cities. This is something that we could report, and we can note that are from region. Thank you.
Maybe we can provide the data to you maybe tomorrow or next week.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So I think I would like to invite other participants if you have questions. If there's no other questions, then perhaps we can conclude our final webinars. And yeah, with that, I would like to thank all the speakers, and also in particular today's speaker, Mr. Chow Pibal, Professor Tamarat, Ms. Isabel Bagaporo, Mr. Pankam, and Dr. Chayawi, and also Dr. Florian for the guidance in the process. And yeah, hopefully we can continue, we can maintain the contacts to develop further SDG 631 questionnaires and having that incorporated in the countries. And hopefully we can have a better involvement of other agencies such as DENR and also Ministry of Industry in the process. Thank you very much for the participation. Thank you very much for the descriptions and also sharing of experiences. We will take that forward, improving the existing systems, and also help further promote the new or the updated questionnaires. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Let's keep in touch sooner or later. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh my God.